Well, we did promise you earlier on this interview, we are joined by Lawson Naidoo. He is the chairperson of Cricket South Africa. Very good evening to you, Lawson. Thank you so much for making time for us.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having me on.
All right, Lawson, the very first question that is very critical is that the serious allegations against Graham Smith earlier on and today, as we found out, Mark Boucher have fell off. What is your reaction?
Well, as we said in a statement we issued earlier today, the Board of Cricket South Africa had received legal advice from our external legal advisors who were involved in the case against Mark Boucher that was brought about as a result of the findings that were made in the SJN report that was submitted to the board in December last year, as well as certain issues that arose in the wake of the resignation of the former Proteas assistant coach Enoch Nkwe late last year. In consultation with our lawyers and with them having scrutinized the evidence that is available in respect of the charges against Mark Boucher, as well as the availability of witnesses, their view was that the charges would not be sustainable before a disciplinary hearing. The board considered the opinion of the legal advisors and therefore decided that it was in the best interest of the game of cricket that those charges be withdrawn, and that's the decision we have taken, and that's why we've taken that decision. It's the right decision to make. The board had instituted an independent process to test the allegations that were made, particularly before the SGN process. But if the evidence is not there, it would have been reckless to pursue the matter.
I mean, Lawson, the SJN hearings had been protracted rather. You know, we seemed to think that they were quite thorough in their investigation. So what does this mean in terms of the hearings as a whole?
Well, I think it's important to understand the precise purpose and context of those SJN hearings and the whole SJN process, that it was really targeted at providing a platform for players and officials in the game of cricket who felt that they had been unfairly treated or discriminated against in the past to come forward and share their stories. This was never a process about attributing fault to individuals. It was about a cathartic process of being able to tell the story of black cricketers in South Africa, the experiences that they went through. And we must pay tribute to the bravery of those people who did come forward and provide evidence. Because what that has done is to allow us to get an insight into the kinds of behaviors that were prevalent at a point in time in Cricket South Africa, so that we can correct those issues as we move forward. I think many of the experiences that we heard about at the SJN were from a period ago, and a considerable amount of progress has been made since then, which is not to say that there's not an awful lot more to do. And the Board of Cricket South Africa has been engaged with the report of the SJN process to try and interweave into the strategic plans that we have for cricket those issues and those lessons, so that we don't make those lessons again. And as many of the players who came forward to give evidence said, they're doing this not for their own sake, but to prevent future generations of cricketers from having to endure what they did.
And if the likes of Paul Adams and Enoch Nkwe were to now reconsider their decision and want to testify, would this case be reopened?
Well, they've both indicated that they do not wish to testify, and that was the basis on which, together with, as I say, with the other evidence that is would have been available to Cricket South Africa, was in the view of our legal advisors and not sufficient to sustain the process. But of course, if they were to change their mind, we would have to reconsider whether the evidence they would provide would be sufficient to enable us to proceed. At this point in time, that's a hypothetical question.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. That was Lawson Naidoo, the chairperson of Cricket South Africa, talking about the big news of today, that Mark Boucher has been cleared of all racism allegations. We'll leave it there for now.